Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 1 of The Chosen, and we're going to be focusing on Nicodemus, so stick around. Welcome to The Snipe Life, where we look at creativity through the lens of Christianity. My name's Brandon, and I run this channel with my wife Vanessa. We've been going through each episode of The Chosen, and right here we're going to start back at Season 1, Episode 1. And I asked you guys what you wanted, and you voted for Nicodemus first, and so that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. If you want to pick who we talk about next, make sure you check our community tab. We'll always be posting different polls there to see what you guys think, because this is a community, it's not just us. And last thing before we get started, if you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would really help us out if you would like the video. This tells YouTube that the content's good, and that you want other people to see it as well. Alright, let's talk about Nicodemus, into the first scene.
Forgive me, Rabbi.
Did we not see what he is doing?
But woman, ahead.
Why have you stopped us?
It's not enough to say hello.
I'm on official business.
Only Roman business is official business. My name is Quintus. I'm the praetor of Capernaum.
And I am...
You're the great Nicodemus. Word travels fast.
Are you arresting me?
Oh, my friend. I'm a magistrate, not a military man. I serve the will of the people and Pilate.
And I serve only God.
Yes. Yes. So do your enemies, the Sadducees, the Essenes, the Zealots, rogue preachers in the wilderness, raving about a coming Messiah. They're all vying for the people's affection.
What do you want, Quintus?
I believe taxes are going unpaid. If you help me, I will help the Pharisees continue to thrive.
How can I? The people already drowning in tax.
Tell me, Nicodemus, what can be under the water and yet never drown?
Fish?
So let's set a few things straight before we really get into the meat of this episode. The Chosen is not scripture. The Chosen is not God's inerrant word, right? We have the scriptures for that. And so whenever I talk about The Chosen, I'm going to separate things into two camps, really. One camp is the story of The Chosen, and the other camp is scripture from The Chosen. And so when The Chosen uses scripture, I want to highlight that as much as possible. And when The Chosen is really deep in story and they're doing some amazing things with that, I also want to highlight that because it is useful. It's just not scripture. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about Nicodemus. Well, we only see him 3 times in the Gospel of John. The first time we see him is in chapter 3 of John, where he goes to Jesus at night and has a conversation with him to really discover what's going on with Jesus. Is he really the Messiah? After that, we don't hear from Nicodemus for quite a while, until chapter 7. In chapter 7, he's talking with the Sanhedrin and the other Pharisees, trying to negotiate a little bit with them. He's basically trying to defend Jesus in the Jewish laws. And thirdly, we see him at the burial of Jesus. He comes with many of the burial supplies needed to kind of prepare Jesus' body. So that being said, we see none of those 3 things in this episode. So, like I said before, we're not talking about scripture here. We are talking about the story of The Chosen. And we can infer other things that are historically correct about the Galilee during that time, but we are not going to pull anything directly from scripture about Nicodemus here. I hope that makes sense. So in this first scene, we see as Nicodemus is on his way to the Galilee. And we see a couple different things here. First, he's in his Pharisaical garb, right? He's obviously a Pharisee as we see at first. We're not quite introduced to him quite yet. He is stopped in the middle of a prayer by a group of Romans. So this is when we first meet Quintus as well, who is an interesting character that I would love to talk more about. But let's focus on Nicodemus today. We find out later that Quintus basically wants Nicodemus to stop the fishing on Sabbath. And this is to kind of help him keep order in the area. We also see some small things, like when the manservant comes to the back of the cart and looks at Zohara, she immediately covers her head, right? This is also a Jewish tradition. I think it's really cool here as well how we get to see the interaction immediately from Nicodemus and the Romans. And Nicodemus is a leader among leaders, right? He's a very high up in the Jewish community. Quintus is a magistrate.
I'm a magistrate, not a military man.
He's an organizer. He's a leader within the Roman society as well. And so he recognizes Nicodemus's position, and he uses that in order to control the rest of the population, much like Romans would do all over the place. Because Rome was not just this conquering force that came in and then let you be who you were. They wanted to change everything about the area, and eventually they didn't want you to be yourselves any longer. They wanted you to become Romans. So truthfully, this is Quintus's goal, and he's using Nicodemus to get it. All right, let's move on to the next scene. Now in this scene, Nicodemus is asked to go to the red quarter, which we would see as some sort of red light district. Quintus is not approaching him to do this. It's just another Roman guard.
I'm no commander, but at least you know your place.
This is Nicodemus, teacher of teachers.
So you can see the power that Rome has here. And even that a guard could come up to Nicodemus and tell him what to do.
Upstairs, Rivka's place. Don't worry, Rabbi. We took out the other lowlifes to protect your delicate sensibilities.
What is that?
I need materials. Shmiral! Sulfur, nettles, hyssop, wormwood. Go.
Yes, teacher.
Well, do your job.
Listen, I agreed to Quintus's request, not a demand, because he should not demand anything of me. To stop Shabbat fishing, which was already our law, and by doing so was not a violation of my practice. And I will try to help this woman, even though it falls outside of my purview. But do not think of me as a tool to fix Roman problems. I will not continue to use my position of religious influence to benefit those who look down on my people, whether it's you or even someone like Quintus. So, I will perform this task, but I want it noted for your superiors. This is an exception.
So can we go now?
Yes.
So this is our first look at the red quarter. And we see a lot of things here that Nicodemus would not have been used to seeing for sure. We see pigs kind of all over the place. We see that there are different sellers and prostitutes. We also see that there are slaves being sold. So this is not a good place. It's pretty rough. And then we also get to see here another connection between the Romans and Nicodemus. He's feeling threatened. Even this little guard was able to order him around and bring him to the red quarter, a place where he never would have gone otherwise. And so he's feeling frustrated. He shouldn't be here. His colleagues shouldn't be here. And he kind of gives him a piece of his mind. And throughout all of it, the Roman guard doesn't even flinch. He just says, "Can we get on with it now?" And Nicodemus, feeling defeated, looks back at him and says, "Yes." Now Nicodemus is here to meet Lilith. And he begins to talk with Rivka, who is one of Lilith's friends. And so he gets a little bit more information here. Let's watch.
How long has she been like this?
Like what?
I'm trying to help her, Rivka.
All you're gonna do is mess this place up. Then what? You're gonna stop by and help clean,
The demons
Rabbi?
that torment her soul will turn your place to dust. Even if you care nothing for her soul, at least...
Lilith never hurt anyone that didn't hurt her first. Mostly. She has these spells. We let her be and then she's as sweet as an angel again. Curse it all, Lil! You can put an end to this.
I adjure you, by the holy angels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, and Raziel, I adjure you, cursed dragon, and diabolical legions, come out! I adjure you, spawn of Beelzebub, Abaddon and Sheol, by the utterance of all the watchers and the holy ones, in the name of Adonai, God of the heavens, cease to deceive this human creature. I command you, in covenant with Abraham, in the names of Jacob, Isaac, Moses, the all-powerful El Shaddai, fly from this innocent soul.
So as Nicodemus prepares to encounter Lilith, he gets all of his supplies together, he gets all of his, religious instruments that he needs, and he begins to recite many of the names of God, Adonai, El Shaddai, and begins to call upon even the archangels. Nothing seems to work. Lilith looks back at him, and you can hear several voices saying back, "You have no power here, teacher." Now we know from Mark 16:9 that Mary had 7 demons within her. Jesus came to her after he had resurrected and began to speak with her, but it clarifies that this is Mary who he had taken 7 demons out of. So again, we know that Mary was possessed by demons at one point. However, Nicodemus probably had nothing to do with any of this and even, trying to exorcise her and all of that stuff. Just another reminder, we're talking about story here, not necessarily strict scripture. So this is really important to the story because Nicodemus is this teacher of teachers. Remember, he's part of the Sanhedrin. As Paul would say, he's a Pharisee of Pharisees. He's meant to know what to do in these situations. And so as he tries to exorcise these demons from Lilith, it doesn't work. What does that do to his confidence? What does that do to his image in front of everybody else? Well, it shakes it quite a bit. So let's see the aftermath of how Nicodemus is feeling after kind of failing to do what he's really supposed to be able to do. So in this scene, we get to meet Zahara for the first time, Nicodemus' wife. Now, technically not in scripture, again, but I think this is really important to him as a person. Most likely Nicodemus was married. So it's interesting to see that relationship that they have. And she's a really good character in the story. Let's watch.
We'll be late to dinner.
I know.
You did everything you could for her. Now put it out of your mind.
I could never forget what I saw.
Tonight, you are an honored guest. Leaders will expect you to perform and to have your wits about you.
Why? Why must I perform? First I perform for Quintus.
You
then
taught
for
God's
the
law.
soldiers, then for the slum dwellers. And this, what sort of performance is this? When did Shabbat become theater?
You are the teacher of Israel. You do not have questions, you have answers. You have authority. You bring clarity, not confusion.
Come. Come. Tell me. What do you see in the mirror?
It is a cheap glass. I can barely make out anything at all.
Sometimes I wonder if what we can know of Adonai and the law is just as blurred. What if we're not seeing the whole picture? What if it's more beautiful and more strange than we can ever imagine?
That is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. It might even be blasphemy.
It was just a thought.
And you will never utter those thoughts in public.
A man is free to question in his heart.
Then
Zora.
leave it in your heart. This is a serious engagement. They expect an erudite teacher, not a doubting, blaspheming fool.
Others saw what happened in the Red District.
And what did they see? You rose to your rank on merit. You have dedicated your life's work to serve God, not to become Him.
I failed.
Stop it. It was a mistake to be there in the first place. But from now on, stick to the academy. Leave exorcism to the exorcists.
You're right. I should never have been there.
You spoke the words. Demon did not respond.
Demons. Many. Only God Himself could have drawn them out.
Nico.
I'm coming. Only God Himself.
We see Zohara here trying to convince Nicodemus of his true purpose. He should stick to the academic side of things and maybe leave the exorcism to the exorcists. But Zohara says a couple of really interesting things here. First, she says,
You do not have questions, you have answers. You have authority. You bring clarity, not confusion.
and this is really who Nicodemus probably thought that he was in this story, right? Is that he is the person that has the answers. He is the one who knows. But yet, today he has encountered something that he does not know. He has encountered something that he doesn't have an answer for. And he's confused about it. But throughout this whole scene, Nicodemus is struggling. He's been asked to go to this Shabbat dinner and to perform all of the readings that need to be done for Shabbat. But he's uninterested. He doesn't want to perform for anybody else anymore. And he wants to focus on figuring out what is going on. Why couldn't he do this? And what was God up to? But then as he hits his lowest moment, he has a realization. Maybe I couldn't do this because God is the only one that could. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's what he was going to tell everybody else. So that's exactly what he does.
First thought might be that I should never have set foot in the Red District at all. And I would say you are probably correct. Often we make decisions in haste in our desire to correct a lost soul. But how to explain what happened when I was there? Brothers, when we follow God's law to the letter, God is alive through us. Would you agree, people?
Yes, Rabbi.
And He lives through you and you and you if you follow His law. Now, imagine, if you can, one who heeds only wickedness for a lifetime. Demons root in wicked souls as pigs in filth. A possession like this was fatal. And souls such as hers, sadly, are beyond all human aid.
Nicodemus has had his first taste here of insecurity. And he rationalizes it away, yeah. And he's not exactly sure what all that he saw. Because he's never been in a situation like that before, right? He's never encountered demons. He's never had to exorcise anybody. He was dealing with a situation he didn't know how to deal with. And so, as all of us do in life, we make it make sense to us. And so in his head, he says, okay, well, if I couldn't do it, then only God could have done it. He's right. Only God could have done it. Which is what makes the next couple episodes so powerful for Nicodemus. And this whole season is really building up to his realization of Christ as the Messiah. So if you want to see the other side of this story from Mary Magdalene's point of view, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and you can turn on the bell to notify you anytime we put out a new video. Don't forget to vote on our next video by going to our community tab. And if you want to join these awesome people right here, we've got some awesome stuff coming up in our Patreon. So you can join that for $5, $10, or $25, and there's a lot of cool perks that come along with that. We've got some sneaky things coming up that you guys probably won't see on our main YouTube channel for at least a couple of weeks. But if you go on our Patreon, you'll be able to get the behind the scenes and be a part of that a little bit earlier. So I hope to see you guys over there. Thanks for checking out this video, and thanks for being part of our community. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.